In March of 1983, ShowBiz Pizza Place held a wacky and nonsensical event known as Crazy Colander-Head Night. In spite of the ridiculous premise, customers were more than eager to take a colander from their home, decorate it with various odds and ends, and wear it on their head to ShowBiz on Wednesday nights. This result was the company's first profitable month in over a year. Although the corporate executives refused to really acknowledge that both the event and efforts by Creative Engineering Inc. were the reason for the sales increase, they were eager to keep the momentum going. When sales began to dwindle after the Colander-Head promotion, they attempted to repeat the event for a second time in the fall of 1983. When that failed to have the same pizzazz as the first round, they once again looked to Creative Engineering for the next big idea. So what exactly did Creative propose? Junk by Daniel Lloyd Webster. Junk is secondhand, worn, or discarded articles of little value, something of small meaning or significance, usually deemed as a shoddy product. Junk is also commonly referred to as rubbish, rubble, trash, scrap, debris, litter, clutter, duke, rummage, and of course, the ever-popular term, stuff. And that is Junk by Daniel Lloyd Webster. Today's episode of Pizza Time focuses on an area of showbiz pizza history that has been lost to time. It has existed in the fandom as somewhat of an urban legend for the last 20 years. Some fans might not have even heard of it, but it is in fact real. This is the story of Junk Day. Before we start, it's important to point out that if you're unfamiliar with the Crazy Colander-Head Night promotion at ShowBiz Pizza Place, check out our previous episode which covers it in detail. It's important to have this context to understand the next chapter of the story. As stated, ShowBiz turned to Aaron Fector and the team at Creative Engineering to once again replicate the magic of Crazy Colander-Head Night with a new promotion. Something that could involve the characters of the Rock-afire explosion and once again involve customer engagement. There was just one problem. The Colander-Head movement was something more intensely personal to the voice talent behind the Rock-afire explosion. It was something they were weirdly passionate about, and they incorporated it into their personal lives, before it ever had anything to do with showbiz or the Rock-afire explosion. Asking to replicate that enthusiasm and creativity on a whim was likely an impossible request. It was probably a very insulting one, too. Some of the upper company executives refused to give Aaron the credit and satisfaction for turning profits around with the Colander-Head promotion.
And the Colander-Head movement became the most incredible thing that ever happened at showbiz, and it was our first profitable month in over a year. But the execs of showbiz, being who they were, did not credit me or us or the Colander-Head movement with their profitable month. The execs said, we were going to have a profitable month anyway because of the cyclical nature of the restaurant business. I said, you guys will never make it. It's not going to make it. Showbiz isn't going to make it because you can't see the forest for the trees. And that was basically what I told them in March of 1983 when we produced. And that's what they said about our work. And it was a lot of work.
If this dismissal and quote has lived rent-free in Aaron's head for 40 years, it's safe to assume it was especially raw a few months after it was originally said to him. So what then did the team at Creative conjure up? What big event could even follow up the Colander-Head promotion? This is where things get interesting. The proposed follow-up event was pitched and conceived in the fall of 1983, around the same time as the half-hearted Colander-Head recycling during the Fall Festival. And although the follow-up event is something that is real, it's been more or less lost to time for over 40 years. The online Chuck E. Cheese and Rock-afire Explosion fandom has existed since 1999. In the beginning, it looked nothing like it does today. For one, there wasn't much data that had been collected. It was a small, loose-knit community of fans, each contributing whatever tidbits of information they could. Photos, collectibles, documents, or even just fond memories of years gone by. Over time, this all began to accumulate on ShowBizPizza.com. As the years rolled on, more and more pieces of a puzzle began to form, and before too long, a much clearer picture of the past was formed. By the early 2000s, a large collection of Rock-afire Explosion media had been compiled, giving everyone a pretty clear picture of most of the music released by the band. And it was around this time that the traces of the Colander-Head follow-up promotion was discovered. Unfortunately, the actual skits themselves were not found. The skits in question were known as the junk shows, and are something many people are probably completely unaware of. In fact, even the most die-hard fans who were aware of their existence were still largely in the dark about any details. A former employee of creative engineering shared their story of what junk was all about. ShowBiz customers were asked to bring in random junk from their homes with the end goal of having the junk displayed on the restaurant walls. Essentially, this would make the restaurants look like the interior of a Cracker Barrel. According to legend, the result was that people brought in literal trash, which was dirty and basically a health hazard. The promotion was a complete embarrassment for the company and was very quickly discontinued. If this description is true, then it makes lots of sense as to why this promotion wasn't very well known. The problem is that it's almost not known at all, to the point where it's unclear whether or not this event really took place. As mentioned, most of the Rock-afire Explosion's musical catalog was pieced together and digitized early on in the fandom's history, with junk being one known, glaring omission. But we've known it exists because of traces found in various places. First and foremost, it's listed in documentation cataloging Creative's tape library for the Rock-afire Explosion, in 2 different versions actually, and shows junk as being 2 separate skits. It's officially included on the birthday intro show tape, which is problematic for its own reasons. Though it makes sense that junk would be included on a separate reel, just like the special Colander shows like the history and indoctrination skits, so they could be queued up manually when needed. For those that don't know, the birthday intros were 4 very short skits where a member of the Rock-afire Explosion would sing a quick little jingle acknowledging the birthday guest, before the next standard show would play. Although they included current voice actors, such as Shalisa voicing the role of Mitzi, they were quite a downgrade from the full birthday songs that would traditionally play. So besides these birthday intros being kind of lame, why were they problematic? It's because they appear to have been barely used. For the longest time, our only copy of the audio came from the digitization done by the employees of Chuck E. Cheese's entertainment department in 1998, when their archive of Rock-afire Explosion media was ordered to be destroyed. To make matters even more complicated, copies of the 4 birthday skit reel have been discovered that contain only these skits, with no trace or mention of junk. In the past few years, home video of these skits finally surfaced.
Birthday celebration here at ShowBiz Pizza Place, and we got something real special for you. So get a party now. We said get a party now. Yes, folks, we're gonna play a special show for our birthday guest, and it's coming up in just a minute. So
But that's about it. Oddly, junk was somehow absent from CEC's corporate archives. The only traces of actual junk reels that were known to exist were locked in the bowels of creative engineering. One can be seen here, in this photo taken in 2005, buried among a rack of pre-production reels. Another tape labeled Junk was photographed in the basement recording studio in 2009. But to our knowledge, the show was never played for tour guests visiting the building throughout all the years that tours were sold. Perhaps because it was never digitized, or perhaps never requested because most fans have never heard of it. Aaron, however, makes a mention of Junk in this tour of the new Palatka building from his premium videos.
Look at these two crates right here. These two crates contain masters and submasters and they go all the way back to the 2-inch tapes. And some of them are properly marked and some of them aren't. But you can go through those and just look at some of these labels. But look, Junk skits. Ooh, that's something I know Sam would be interested in.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we made it into the show business with these.
Yeah.
You know, that was our follow-up to the Colander-Head
He's been really
phenomenon.
interested in all of those.
So that's where the trail ran dry. But never underestimate the dedication of this fandom's search for data. Sometimes, mysterious circumstances can yield some surprising results. And even when things seem like they might be lost forever, they can surface from the most unlikely of places. In the summer of 2024, a dilapidated entertainment center was discovered that contained some lost relics from ShowBiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese's past. Buried among ancient arcade cabinets, and even some cosmeticless animatronics, was a stash of reels and VHS show tapes. Among these was a copy of the 4 birthday skits reel, with Junk. Maybe. Possibly. Because even with this discovery, there was still one major obstacle. For some ominous reason, the Junk notation was blacked out with Sharpie on the label. Was it actually still on the tape? Or was it possibly recorded over when they went so far as to mark it out on the label? Even if it was still on there, was the reel even playable? Having sat for what appeared to be years on end and semi-exposed to the outside elements. In this serendipitous instance, the fandom gods decided to hand Rock-afire Explosion fans a little present. Happy 25 years of fandom indeed. In the first Junk skit, Fats opens by calculating the amount of time the Rock-afire Explosion has performed at ShowBiz.
You know, I've been here at ShowBiz Pizza going on, 3 years and 36 months, I think, something like that. Somebody add that up. I don't know what that is.
I got 2 plus 2, carried a naught and added 3. We've been here 36 months, Fats.
Okay, don't get your brain in overdrive, though, Duke.
Okay.
This is a setup to make the claim that it's a long time for them to be sitting and staring at the same old showroom walls. He claims the walls are goofy looking, and even mentions the orange stripes that adorned most showroom walls at the time.
Oh, it's got that orange stripe and all that business up there. What's all that? It's dull looking.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we need to redecorate it.
As Fats proposes the idea of changing them up, he's backed by Duke that redecorating them is a good idea, before being promptly shut down by Mitzi.
Brilliant idea. I like it.
I think it looks fine how it is.
Yeah, I do too.
It's so nice and pretty.
She argues that it should be left alone because it's nice, and an interior decorator took time and effort to make it how it is. Duke immediately flip-flops to take Mitzi's side.
Good point, Mitzi. That's a good point. I think we ought to keep it the way it is, too.
The back and forth continues as Fats goes on to describe the walls of his house, which Duke says looks like they're covered in junk.
I got my walls at my house decorated up pretty. You seen them? You seen what they look like? I got bicycles hanging on from the ceiling. I
seen a lot of junk.
Yeah, junk.
Is that what you want to do?
But that's good junk. That's pretty junk. That's not ugly junk. That's pretty junk.
As Duke begins to take his side, Mitzi once again jumps in saying it's a terrible idea and will make people sick, having to look up at all the junk while trying to eat pizza.
Get serious, y'all.
That's right. That's a good idea, too, Mitzi. I could imagine sitting down there eating my pizza and a hubcap fall on top of your head. We can't do that, Fats. Can't do it, man.
No, Duke, you don't understand, buddy. Listen.
Fats argues claiming the junk will be clean and nice and not dirty junk. Mitzi continues to argue while Duke continues immediately taking one character's side over the other back and forth.
It's going to be good junk. It's going to be the kind of junk that you want to put up on the wall, and people are going to want to look at it, and it's not going to fall down on your head. See, Duke?
Like regular junk.
Yeah, regular junk. You know what I'm talking about.
Junk. Yeah. Well, I like that idea, too, because I got lots of regular junk, and stuff just sitting in my drawers back home that I can just drag over here and hang them up.
I don't know about y'all, but I don't know anybody who'd bring clean junk here.
Yeah, me neither. I never heard of clean junk.
I mean, there will be so much dirty junk and so many weirdos bringing all this junk, and it'll just be all stashed up in the parking lot, and we'll just have a great big mess to clean up.
Well, that's right. Then you got to pay somebody to come out there and clean up the mess. You're probably going to have junk parked in the parking places.
No,
the cars
Duke,
will have to park out in the street.
it's going to be
and,
real easy to do.
Duke's flip-flopping reaches a fever pitch when Mitzi and Fats start rapid-firing at each other back and forth.
It's not going to be a problem, I'm telling you.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it will, Fats.
No, it won't.
No, it won't, Mitzi.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it will, Fats.
No, it won't.
No, it won't, Mitzi.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, no, it won't. Yes, it will.
No, yes, it will.
Yes, it will.
No.
Y'all be quiet.
It culminates with Fats making an official announcement that the upcoming Saturday, between 11 and 2 in the afternoon, on a trial basis, they're going to hold Junk Day at ShowBiz.
I'm going to officially announce, pro or con, that this coming Saturday, between 11 and 2, on a trial basis, we want people here at ShowBiz Pizza to join us in the craziness here that we always do at ShowBiz and hang stuff up on the wall. Bring your junk in and let's hang it up on the walls and see if it looks good or not, okay?
Boy, that's a neat idea, Fats. I can't wait to try that one.
He also mentions that free tokens will be given to the people bringing in good junk to hang on the walls. The skit ends with one final rebuttal from Mitzi, and then Duke being told to be quiet by both characters after he continues trying to appease both sides.
So y'all come in. Saturday is Junk Day, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
No, it's not. It's going to be terrible.
No, it's not going to be terrible, Fats.
Why don't you be quiet?
Okay, I'll be quiet. I should never say nothing anyway. I don't know why y'all got me in this.
Junk Skit 2 begins with Fats catching everyone up on the junk event. He even makes a callback to Colander-Head Night.
You know, we here at ShowBiz have become rather accustomed to originating unusual sorts of events, like our highly acclaimed Colander-Head Night. And you, our wonderful customers, seem to likewise enjoy them as well. So in keeping with that spirit of uniqueness for which we are all known, I am proud to say that this coming Saturday will be, you guessed it, Junk Day here at ShowBiz Pizza. That's right, Junk Day.
He gives the hours once again and describes the event to people, saying he doesn't know what sort of junk people might have at home, but if they've got it and don't want it, ShowBiz will be happy to take it. He also mentions free tokens for those who bring in junk, and bonus tokens for those bringing in the best junk to be hung.
In fact, everybody who brings in a piece of junk will get free game tokens, and people who bring in the best junk will get extra tokens for good merit. Now, when we finished accumulating all the junk we need, the wonderful and loyal employees of ShowBiz are going to hang this stuff all over the world for all the walls to see. All over the wall for all the world to see. Can I get a witness?
Witness, Fats. Amen.
Amen. Hey, Fats.
Oh, yeah, what you need, my little pickle?
Mitzi breaks in confused. Fats addresses her here as his little pickle, which is a neat touch as he's called her cute names in other skits, such as his little Cadota fig.
Well, this is kind of embarrassing and everything, but I really don't know what you mean by junk.
Yeah, I mean junk. You know what I'm talking about when I say junk.
Well, you mean junk or junk? I mean, I just don't get it.
Mitzi explains to Fats that she doesn't really understand what he means by junk. When asked if she has any junk laying around her house, she says her mom is a clean freak and she doesn't know if they have any junk. Fats goes on to give a dictionary explanation of what is meant by junk, describing it in different terms and even slipping Duke in as a synonym. When Duke asks him how he knows so much about junk, Fats explains that reading a dictionary and being able to recite knowledge helps him impress girls.
Golly, Fats, how'd you learn so much stuff about junk?
Oh, Duke, I like to curl up with a nice dictionary on the weekend. You know, makes for some nice weekend reading. The girls like to hear it, too. They can't believe I'm spitting out all that stuff. They don't know what I'm saying.
When Mitzi still doesn't seem to get it, Fats turns to Duke for help.
I can't believe it. Duke, can you do something with her? Can you explain to her what the meaning of junk is?
The meaning of junk, when you're talking to the junkyard dog.
Duke refers to himself as the junkyard dog, which was the name he was later referred to as during the era of the new Rock-afire explosion.
Let me tell you something about junk.
Well, tell him something.
Here's a little poem I just happened to remember, and it's all about junk.
Duke recites a poem, which is of course titled Junk by Duke LaRue. Fats then tells him it's the worst piece of poetry he's ever heard. Mitzi disagrees, gushing over his flow and use of rhyming, and even compares it to Shakespeare. Fats then says the poem has undertones of classical romanticism, and that Wordsworth and Coleridge would have been driven to tears, and probably a whole lot more. Which sounds like a compliment, but was actually a backhanded insult. Duke, of course, is oblivious.
Oh, thanks, Fats. That means a lot coming from you.
Mention it, Duke. I meant every word of it. But anyway, now that we have clearly defined and given examples of the word for today, which of course is, Duke, tell 'em.
Junk.
The skit ends with a quick recap by Fats of the event, reminding everyone to show up between 11 and 2 to help celebrate Junk Day at ShowBiz Pizza.
Let me wrap this announcement up by saying, as I mentioned before, that this coming Saturday is going to be the first installment of Junk Day here at ShowBiz Pizza. So bring all the junk you can muster up in the store between the hours of 11 and 2 in the afternoon and get your free game tokens.
And to not go away because the next show is coming up after a short break. Finding a copy of this tape isn't the end of the story, though. Even with junk being uncovered, it's still a mystery in many ways. Why is its footprint so small? Did it actually get used, or was it an idea so silly and awful that it never got off the ground? For that, we have a few additional clues. For one, we've yet to uncover any sort of documentation relating to the event. Company memos, press articles, newspaper advertisements, or anything of the sort. For the longest time, our biggest clue that there may have been something really to this event was from some old advertising commercials. In this Halloween-themed commercial, someone in a robber's costume is seen being stopped by someone in a policeman's costume from stealing some junk off the wall at ShowBiz. In this case, a hubcap. While this commercial may not have been filmed at an actual location, or if so, some things may have been spruced up for filming, the simple fact of having restaurant walls covered in weird items seems to fit with the whole junk concept. The only other scrap of documentation we have is this photo, taken at a store in Fort Worth, Texas, sometime prior to 1985. The timeline fits, the location is close to the corporate headquarters, and the back wall indeed appears to be covered in scattered junk items. And it looks terrible. Nothing like the semi-organized junk is seen in the television spot. It's hard to even make out what this stuff is. Perhaps some backpacks and purses? A silver metal bucket? A small muffler, maybe? It does seem to show that the junk shows were used, at least on a trial basis, as Fats mentions in the first skit, perhaps only at select locations. But if this photo was indicative of what the end result looked like, it probably explains why this wasn't more widespread. Another possible sign that junk was used may have been in this home video of Billy Bob's birthday skit. There does seem to be junk hanging on the showroom wall, but it seems to possibly have a theme. There's a large assortment of vinyl records arranged in a loose pattern, and what might possibly be 2 large dolls or figures? It's hard to say, as only the legs can be seen. But maybe it's another display of Junk Day being used. What do you think? If junk was only tested in some stores and didn't seem to go well, then maybe it makes sense that ShowBiz would pull the plug without going any further. And even though the idea is wacky, maybe even more bizarre than Colander-Head Night, it just seems to lack the charm. Even though the skits were fun, to us it just seems half-hearted, both in concept and execution. Maybe one day in the future we'll find more documentation about this promotion, perhaps in the form of a store memo explaining the event, or even home footage. It may seem unlikely to unearth something like that 40 years after the event, but you must remember that new information is constantly being found in this community. It wasn't until 2024 that fans realized that the prototype concept unification Chuck E. Cheese stage was actually tested out at a location when home video was uploaded. We think there's more about Junk Day to be discovered, but in the meantime, at least we finally know this bizarre promotion was more than just a legend.
Can I get a witness?
Amen.